And so what did you do?
Transferred the money.
How did you get the money?
I had to borrow.
That money was handed to you, correct?
Yes.
And did you pay off the debt with it?
Yes.
Did you do this as a gift for your daughter, or did you expect her to pay you back?
No, it was agreed that she would be able to pay me back £150 a month.
Now, you're a full-time mum, correct?
Yes.
That is a full-time job. The only people that tell me that being a full-time mum is not a full-time job, put it this way, are not full-time mums. So your income was very limited, correct? So had you looked at your financial picture and satisfied yourself that you could afford that money?
No.
One thing you did was very sensible, which was to put this in writing, correct?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because it was going to be paid back. I told Sophie that £150 was too much a month, that she wouldn't be able to afford it.
Very helpful.
I put it down to 100.
And let me tell you, madam, had you not had that discussion, again, your case could not survive in law. Because I would have taken the view, and I still am in difficulty, that the promise that Sophie may have made to you in law was wholly unrealistic, and what's more, you knew or should have known there was no chance at all that she could afford £150. You came to a conclusion that 100 would be OK.
Yeah.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Because I broke it down and thought if she could give me £25 a week.
Let's see your contract. The starting date is January the 7th, correct? So, as we are today, as I look at that agreement, I presume what you intended was that roughly on or about the 7th of each month you would get £100.
Yeah.
How much has Sophie paid?
Nothing.
Why not?
I can't afford to.
You agreed to it in circumstances where your mum clearly considered what your budget was. What's more, you held out to her that you could afford £100. Now, this may be helpful. It may not. Madam, when you agreed to pay your mum £100, could you afford it or couldn't you?
Not really.
So why did you promise to? She's now in debt to a third party. Why did you promise to if you couldn't afford it?
I don't know. I suppose it was just easier.
Do you believe it's realistic she's ever going to pay these sums of £100 per month?
No.
Why do you not believe that?
She can't afford it now, and if it's she's got to pay me or the children need something, it's going to be the children. I can't see me ever getting it.
Is that the choice? What is the choice, starkly put?
If my kids need something, I've got to get them.
Did you at any point tell your mum that that £100 was unrealistic?
No.
Thank you. What does it do to you to know how badly you've let your mum down?
It's horrible. I don't want it to affect my kids and my mum's relationship.
Your application is for a total of £4,605.13. That is reflected in the agreement that your daughter signed. However, there are two problems with your claim, despite the fact that you made it legally enforceable by putting it in writing. The first problem, it seems to me, is that it was wholly unrealistic for Sophie to pay £100 per month back. And frankly, you ought to have inquired or knew that that was the case. What's more, Sophie was under considerable duress at the time she entered into this agreement. I have to determine whether or not that makes this agreement enforceable or not. I should be clear. Had you left this agreement at £150 a month and had no further discussions and reduced the sum to 100, I would have dismissed this case out of hand. I would have concluded that this arrangement was arrived at in circumstances where Sophie could never have met her obligations. The fact that you discussed it and reduced the sums gives me every indication that Sophie clearly indicated to you that she could afford to pay you £100. I therefore find this agreement enforceable. It has become perfectly clear to me that Sophie has no realistic prospect whatsoever of paying you that £100 per month, neither does she have the financial capacity. That does not absolve her of her legal obligation. And consequently, because it's unrealistic she's ever going to pay you, I have no choice but to come to the conclusion that she has simply willfully ignored her duty to you. Willfully. Therefore, you're entitled to enforce the entirety of this loan now. This court awards you £4,605.13.
Sharon won her case and was awarded the full amount of her claim. Let's find out how both parties felt about the judge's ruling.
I'll always love you. Promise me you'd never do anything like it again, would you? Think of you and your children. No one else. Big mistake, but you've learned a lesson. I'm sorry.
Don't be stupid. Stay and watch the best Judge Rinder moments. And I'm talking. Understood? Don't be a moron. Subscribe to Judge Rinder YouTube channel. Right now. That's an order.